Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kortiwada. In this video, we will learn about request headers and response headers in Next.js. How we can get the request headers, how we can change the response headers. All this we will try to understand in this. So let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code. So here, what I'll do is I have already created a user's route. So what we'll do is just I'll remove this and we'll write our own route. So I'm using export and I want to export an async function, and this function will be given with a name. Let me give a name called as get because I want to use a get method. And inside this get method, what I want to do is I want to return different type of contents. Now what I'll do, I'll just use a request, and that request is nothing but next request. So which is coming from your next server. Inside this, let me use something called as console.log of request.headers. So what these headers and what we'll be printing over here, let's see. So for now, I'm just returning a new instance of response, and that response having a body called as hi, this is headers. So I'm just returning this part. Along with this, I want to pass status as 200 and save this. Now, once you go into your Postman and hit this particular request, we will be getting some set of headers, and that will be visible over here. Let me go here, and this is my users because folder structure is API/users, and hit this. Now you got hi, this is headers. And if you see here, we have lot of headers which came in the console. So this one, if you see, we got something like a headers where accept encoding, authorization, all this. So why we are getting authorization? Let me go into the headers. So I sent an authorization. If you want to add some set of keys or any set of headers, you can add over here. So what I'll do is I'll disable this for now and hit this. Now you can see you don't have that particular authorization. So remaining everything are the default headers for every request. So we will be getting a host, we'll be getting a postman token where I have triggered from, and user agent. If you see this, we are hitting it from postman. So now what I'll do is I'll just go into the browser and try to hit this from the browser. Let me refresh this, and if you see, I called a route called as users, and it is calling API/users, and you got a hi, this is for headers response. So let me zoom this a bit, and now you got this particular response. That is absolutely fine. If you see these headers, so if you see these particular headers, you can see something called as request headers and response headers. Now I am talking about this request headers. So in general, we got all these values into our terminal. You can see now, as I triggered from the browser, you have more number of headers. If you see what the browser can accept and the connection and where it is coming from Chrome, and what is the user agent, it is applicable. It may be a Mozilla, Chrome, or Intel. All these details are coming into picture. When I hit from Postman, the request headers are different. That is the default request headers are different. And whenever I'm hitting the same thing from our browser, you are getting a different request headers. So that's how your request headers can be accessed. And if you want to pass some custom request headers, we can pass it. How we can do that is I'm just enabling this. I'm passing authorization. And if you want one more like sample token, so let me use token and hit this. Now you will be seeing two more extra headers that is related to the custom headers authorization. Along with that, you will have something called as sample. So let me go here. You can see authorization is the key and the value is Sai, and also you can have sample and you are getting a token over here. So remaining everything is a normal default headers. And if you want to access a specific header, what I can do is I can use something called as dot get, and you can pass some set of keys for this. The keys for this to get is authorization. So let me go here, just copy this authorization and put it over here and make it a small letter. Now you will be seeing only authorization value. That means Sai will be triggered on the request headers. So let me hit this and go here, and you can see Sai. In the same way, if you want to access any of the header, any specific header, you can use that particular key. So that is how you can use your headers. And there is another way to show the same headers in our Next.js, and that is given by Next.js itself. So wherever the request is triggered, whenever the request is triggered, you will be getting headers, and that headers will be specific to this particular request. And you can see there is something called as next slash headers, and from there you are getting this particular headers. And let me go here, hit now, and you will be getting all the values same as usual, how you are triggering by using this request dot headers. And if you see this, these are only read-only headers. If you want to update, you should not update from this. But if you want to update, you can update from this request headers. So this is something like once you want to get the values, then you can use this one or this one. But if you want to update some headers, it is not recommended. Now we are good with this request headers. So request headers can be handled in two ways, by using a request object or by using headers which is imported from our next slash headers. So these are the two ways where I can create my headers. Now these are something which is sent by the client. Client may be a postman or a Chrome. Now what I want to do is I want to send some other headers, that is response headers, from my route.ts to my client. Whoever requests this particular get request, that fellow will receive this particular headers, and that headers should be configured over here. So we don't have any default headers for now. That means whatever the default headers are there, it is already sent by the Next.js. But extra things, whatever you want to send it back, you can send it back in this headers, and you can override the existing one also. For example, if you see, if you go here and see the response headers, you are getting a content type with a text slash plain. That means you are getting a plain text. For example, what is the problem with this? So I'm not sending any headers for now, and I'll add something like h1, which is a tag, and again I have added h1 closing tag. So this is not a normal string, it is a HTML content. So whenever I'm sending this HTML content, it has to render with this HTML with this feature, like h1 feature should be applied on this particular label, and it has to be shown on the browser. Let's see whether it is happening or not. Let me go here and refresh this. You can see whatever the text I am sending, it is as it is. You are not updating or you are not changing anything from this. And why it is happening? It is happening just because of your response headers. Because whenever you want to send a response headers, if you are sending like a plain text, that will be acting like a plain text and only that will be rendered. But what we can do is we can do some other stuff by overriding that content type. Let me go and create content type, and the content type is something like text, but this time it is not a plain text, it is HTML text. Let me save this and go to the browser. Let me refresh. Now you can see exact feature. That means it is not getting the value as a plain text. Instead, it is getting the value as a plain HTML content. So that's how you can use your text slash HTML. And even you can use something like application slash HTML and save this. Go here. So now let me refresh, and you can see a file has been downloaded over here, because this is happened just because of this application slash HTML. I'm telling that this is a HTML, but it is an application, not the text. So you have to use text slash HTML to send that particular data. And for example, if you want to send some JSON, for example, I have something like data is equal to sample, and I have something like Sai, and save this, and I want to send this data. You have to stringify because it's an object. So let me use and stringify this to an object and save this. Now once it is stringified, if I send as a HTML, then this is not a proper content type. Why? Because here we are having a object, and whenever I'm sending an object as a text, it will look in a object format on your HTML. Let me show you that. Here you can see an object which is actually looking like a text. So now what I can do is, instead of doing that, you have something called as application slash JSON and save this. Go here and refresh. Now you can see you got a JSON object. That's why it is giving a prettier print. So let us know exactly how this works. If I go into this and hit this, you can see you got an object. Inside this, you can see a proper JSON. For example, if I'm not using this, that means if I use something like text slash plain, and save this, you will not see that object over here. Let me hit this, and you can see you are seeing a normal text. You can see here also it is showing a normal text. So that's how you can change or override your content type. And also we can send some extra data over here. For example, if I want to send something called as data, and this data I want to send it as get request token, or just you can create some random token and you can send it something like this and save this. Now you can see the data on the response headers, not on the request headers. So this is the user's request, and you can see the response header. If you see the response header, you got a data. So this data is coming from our headers, that is nothing but our response headers. So you can add the headers, you can get the headers, you can retrieve the request headers. All this can be done by our route TS. That means whenever you are handling some APIs, these are very, very important to understand. So whenever you try to send the data, you can send from the API to the client, and if you want to send some data from the client to the API by using this headers, that is request headers and the response headers in Next.js. So that's about this video. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.